My fists were literally balled up. And it was in one of those suicide attempts. I remember slamming my bathroom door. And on the back of that door was a wardrobe mirror. And I saw myself ready to hit that mirror with my fist. And I saw something. I started pointing at myself. You make me sick. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. You can't even kill yourself right. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And then it dawned on me. I wasn't just angry, but I was blameful. When I point that finger, of course, there's three pointing back at me, but you know what that means? I'm 75% away from a fist by pointing. So now I'm not just angry, but I'm...
Welcome to the Scratch Your Own Itch podcast, the show about the things we think about, but don't ever talk about. My name's Logan Tyler Nelson, and I'm your host. These conversations are about creating a life worth living, with a focus on sharing stories about battles in our heads. Topics range from depression, addiction, self-doubt, past traumas, and everyday compulsive thinking. And my hope is that the show will just shed some light on anyone in the dark that feels like they're alone in their daily struggles. Please take note that this show is not meant to be a replacement for professional diagnosis or professional therapy. I am not a counselor or a therapist. Hey guys, I just want to really quick check in with you and tell you what's going on. So my new schedule for the podcast is this. I'm going to be releasing interview-style episodes like this one with Loren Michaels and myself, and have them roll out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will have little episodes in between. They might not always be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you'll have 2 mini-sodes a week as well. So 3 interviews and then also the 2 mini-sodes. And we'll see how that format kind of works for us. Just forewarning, this episode is not a lot about me talking, but I think Loren Michaels Harris goes and delivers one heck of an inspirational talk that we all need to feel less alone. He talks about suicidal thoughts. He talks about just listening to your message, doing the work that you've already done, and just sharing it. Because sharing it, it means so much more than what you think it does. And it takes no time at all to share nowadays. For instance, if you find this interview at all valuable, you can share it with someone. I would really appreciate it. But let's get into it. Hey, you. Yeah, you. So I've got someone on the show today that I have to warn you isn't your regular cup of motivational coffee. No, not one bit. When you drink what Loren Harris is serving you, you will be more than just motivated. Your entire world will change. So now, you can't say that I didn't warn you, because my guest today, Loren Michaels Harris, is the founder of the world's first ever apology service called Apology Accepted. Loren is a 2-time best-selling author, coach, mentor, recording artist, and foster care advocate. Loren divides his time between his home in Naperville, Illinois, and his weekend hideaway in Michigan, where he retreats to develop the content for his various programs. Loren has achieved a ton. So why bring on a person who is seemingly perfect on paper onto a mental health podcast? Because Loren has been through some rough times. My hope is for today's conversation to make you feel less alone in your own struggle and how to overcome learned helplessness and understanding irrational behavior. So without further ado, let me introduce you all to my man. Thank you so much for coming on Scratch Your Own Itch, man.
Logan, you know what? As another person with 3 names, I feel a kindred spirit with you for sure. And I'm so honored to be here. I love what you're doing, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know you're Dude, you're someone that changed my my way of viewing things the other day when we had our little chat. You're an intense person. That's why I said you're not your average morning cup of espresso. Like you are the world changing. You definitely change the way people perceive things. And so I want to say up front, um, know that you have that power. And so I want everyone else to know that up front that their world can be changed today. And you know what? If this isn't for you right now, it could be for you tomorrow or the next week. So just keep on listening. But yeah, let's get into it, Lorna. Whenever you're ready, I'd love to do some possibility hacking and kind of reverse engineer and talk about what had you actually make the change from having suicidal thoughts and depression to get to where you are today.
Wow. Oof. I got to be honest with you. Just rolling into what we're about to get into it in this setting, because it is a mental health podcast, is different than anything I've ever done. And it wasn't until like the last 3 or 4 seconds of your intro right there when it really just slapped me in the face about what an honor it is to be speaking to people that however they come to the mental illness table, um, we're so similar in so many ways. And so I feel really honored. I feel ultra special to be able to share things that for so many decades I kept secret or tried to hide or didn't understand or were fearful of, um, that today give me an opportunity intersection called opening my eyes every morning to create immense change and legacy in this world, things that will live on long after Loren is dust. And it's just an incredible opportunity. I just want to thank you again before we even get started. But uh, I'll tell you this: it was a long journey for me. It's the kind of thing where you don't know where it begins and you know that it will never end, if that makes any sense. For me personally, my story started, I always say to people, my earliest pit moment memory. And that's the moment when I realized, oh, I'm not in Kansas anymore, was when I was 9 years old, had pretty much a charmed life, lived in a great neighborhood, had a really nice home, a mom who I loved, who loved me, siblings, just I went to private school, things were great. And one day that all changed instantly. We had gone to our weekly Wednesday afternoon family grocery run. And, I had two jobs in the house at that time. And one was to take the trash out every day, and the other one was to bring groceries in on Wednesdays. And so I was hurrying because it was, I wanted to get that last bag in safely because it contained the giant box of honeycomb. And there was something in that box. They used to put, I don't know if they still do, they used to put prizes in the cereal boxes. So with my sisters, whoever got the box first was the one who ripped it open, dug down in there, or poured it into a bowl or whatever to get the prize. So I was moving fast, back and forth, round trip, to get those groceries in so I could get to that decoder ring that was in the honeycomb box. And on my last round trip, I really did trip, literally. I tripped over my mom, who was on the floor, and she had, I didn't know it at the time, but she was in the midst of a major stroke. And, about 40 minutes after, down there talking to her, trying to figure out what to do. There was no 911 back then. So I just dialed 0 and got the operator. And I watched as they wheeled her out, not knowing, of course, that that was the last time my mom would leave our home. She passed away 2 days later. I remember it was a Wednesday. We buried her on a Saturday. And the very next Wednesday, there was a knock at our door. And it was a social worker who was a friend of my mom's, the only friend that my mom had told her secret. about me, that I really was not, I didn't have any idea I wasn't their birth child, but everyone that did know that I wasn't assumed I had been adopted, but no one told me. So I didn't even know I was supposedly adopted. But then she tells me, no, you're not adopted. It had never been legally done. And it was more or less just a backdoor deal between two women in 1962. And therefore, you are now an official ward of the state and you need to come with me. She said this while she extended her hand, which had a large garbage bag at the end of it. And I took the bag and she said, whatever you can fit in there is what you can bring. And I'm just looking around at everybody like, okay, there was no Ashton Kutcher back then being punked or anything. This was real life. And no one had anything to say. They had no explanation. I could see them thinking about, what do we do? It was written all over their faces. So what do you grab? What's more important than the next thing to a 9-year-old kid? And at the same time, I'm thinking things like, what about my dog? What about Cub Scouts? What about the stuff in my desk at school? What about my best friend, Scott? Things you can't just take with you. Long story short, fast forward, later that night, I was in my very first foster home. And needless to say, because a lot of people in the world have been touched by either someone in foster care or foster care themselves, or they've seen the stories. They're not all good. Very few are. And let's just say that between the ages of 9 and 17, there were 22 foster homes / group homes that I encountered, and about 9 to 11 abusers of all different sorts. So somewhere along the line, that trash bag that I had on the back seat of that state vehicle as we drove away from our home that day, it was made out of plastic then, but with every day that passed within that broken system, that trash bag actually became something that I carried within my spirit. I reached into that trash bag right around my early 20s, 21, 22, and I was hoping I would pull something out that could give me some semblance of hope, that I could even come close to the things that I felt I could be inside, but that did not match up with the world outside. When I reached in my early 20s, I pulled out something I didn't expect. I pulled out depression. And it said, low self-esteem, no self-worth, all these different bullet points. And the gift card read, courtesy of every abuser you've ever met and a broken system. So I went through my 20s searching, trying to find a way to be able to basically just breathe. And when I say that, I mean that literally. There were days where I know for a fact, if my lungs and my respiratory system would not have automatically continued the responsibility of breathing for me, I wouldn't be here today, because I did not have the energy to make myself breathe. Right around 26 is when Apology Accepted came through me. It did not come from me. And I say that because I went to sleep one night really depressed, thinking, I don't think I'll make it through the week. I had just turned 26, as a matter of fact. And I remember I went on the roof of the building. I was the apartment complex manager of this building in Hollywood. And I went on the roof of the building, and I had gone to the library. There was no internet in 1988. I went to the library and I got all the names for higher power, God, Jehovah, higher power, everything I could find. And I spoke each one of those names out loud. And I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I know that right now I believe in very little. But if there is any way, there is something greater than me out there. And I missed your name. I hope you know I'm talking to you. But I am giving this, whatever you call it, because it doesn't even feel like a life. I'm giving it 1 year from today. Let's just call this my last lap. I'm tired of running this race. I can't do it anymore. So I'm giving you 1 year to prove to me that I have a place in this world, to prove to me that I have a purpose other than just simply existing and fighting for a reason, a purpose to exist. I don't know how you're going to prove it to me. Don't send any type of apparition, because you know me, I get scared from even the mildest horror show. I'll have a heart attack and be dead anyway. So you're going to have to do something. You're the all in all, after all, so figure it out. I came down from the roof. I went to sleep that night, and I dreamed I was in the audience of a game show. And that game show was called Apology Accepted. It was set up just like an old show called Love Connection, where people would vote from the audience on 3 different dates for the person who was on the show. And then we would get to see how the date went. Well, this time it was 3 apologies about 2 people that, for whatever reason, were estranged. For whatever reason, could not or would not say they were sorry for themselves. So Apology Accepted did it for them. And then we would vote on the apology that we thought would, heal this wound, put a Band-Aid on it, help it to get better. And when we were leaving the show, being ushered out, I just inadvertently said out loud to no one in particular, "What a great idea for a business. Who came up with this idea?" And I promise you, everyone in there turned to me, and in one voice, they said, "No one, Loren. This is for you, if you want it." I sat straight up in my bed, and I had been going to a hypnotherapist because I was so screwed up inside. I was so distraught. I had tried everything from counseling to going to a pastor for spiritual counseling, and now I had found my way to hypnotherapy. And she had told me, her name was Anne, she had told me when she counted me down for my hypnotic sessions, she would say, because I was a musician at the time as well, doing jingles and background vocals on albums, and she would say, "See yourself as you go down the stairway. See yourself to the left, accepting your Grammy. Pick it up, feel the weight of it, wave at your fans. And on the right, I want you to see yourself in People magazine." Well, I'd been going to her for about 6 or 7 weeks by this point. And once I woke up and I wrote the words "Apology Accepted" down on paper, I immediately went into my living room, and for some reason, and I'm doing air quotes as I say some reason, I had been purchasing People magazine. Probably because she said, "See yourself in it?" I don't know, but I had one. I immediately flipped to the masthead at the front of the magazine. I found the editor and the address. I'll never forget it. It was on Avenue of the Americas in New York City. I wrote down my idea that I had just dreamed on a 3x5 card in pencil. I put a 10-cent stamp on it, and I sent it on its way. 1 week to the day, that editor personally called me and said, "I got your card. I want to know more." Within 6 weeks, I was featured in People magazine's Best and Worst Dressed issue, which was their biggest issue back then because there was no Sexiest Man Alive yet. And my world changed. I experienced for the next year what Andy Warhol referred to as your proverbial 15 minutes of fame. I learned so many life lessons in that year. I had been so depressed, thinking I had no place in this world, that no one saw me, no one acknowledged me, and I wasn't worthy of anything good, that anyone who came running now, and I was on every talk show, tons of magazines, the LA Times, Larry King Live, Good Morning America, you name it, I was on it. So suddenly my apartment was filled with spectators, and that's really all they were. I thought they were friends. I thought suddenly everyone loves Loren. And as that year progressed, and, the news vans showed up less and less, I became recognizable on the streets of Hollywood less and less. The front row seats of my life became more and more empty. Or if they did have butts in the seats, They were people sitting in the front row seat of my life who were in no way, no shape, no form, healthy enough or deserving to be sitting there, because they weren't there for Loren. They were there for the experience they could obtain through Loren. And so suddenly I found myself reaching back into that trash bag in my mind again. And this time I pulled out the handbook of suicide. And it said, you know, why are you even bothering? Kill yourself.
Hey guys, I really hope you're enjoying the conversation that I'm having so far with my guest today. I'd really like to offer you guys an opportunity. Well, more so, actually, an act of kindness. I would love if you guys took some time just to scroll down in the review section and write a review on what you think about the podcast and if it's affecting your life at all. If it is, that'd be awesome to just leave a review, and I would love to take my favorite review and send you a gift. Send you a gift out of kindness. Something that's going to scratch your own itch, of course. And if it does, well, maybe you can also support the show by sharing it with someone as well. So, with that being said, you guys are enough and you matter. Back to the show.
Do the world a favor. Drop out. Quit. And I took that handbook and I flipped to the first chapter. And that was my first failed suicide attempt. I sealed off all of the air entry points or exit points or ducts or whatever you want to call them in my apartment with duct tape and heavy trash bags doubled over. I blew the pilot light out on my gas oven and my fireplace, my gas fireplace, and I turned both of them on. I fell asleep. And then inside of that sleep, that was, I'm telling you, probably one of the best sleeps I'd ever had. Seriously. I did not want to wake up. I heard a phone ringing in the background, and it just was incessant. It would not stop. And I went over, tried to pick it up. I was dropping the handset, and I said hello. And a woman, she asked for a name. And I was like, you have the wrong number. She was like, well, who is this? And I said my name. And she goes, okay, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And then she heard me trying to hang the phone up and I couldn't find the thing. So it was just making a bunch of noise. So apparently this woman felt something was wrong. She had them trace the call because she had a family member who was an operator for AT&T. And they took my name. They traced her call. Long story short, within the hour, there were firemen knocking on my door. And that's what saved my life. There were 3 more of those because then I go into the bag again after that. And this time I pulled out drug addiction. And the gift card said, I am the gift that continues to give and give. And it stood behind its promise because it continued to give, but actually take from me and my world for 14 dark years. Within there, of course, there were many suicidal thoughts and tendencies, legal problems, jail time, just all sorts of things. I remember, I guess what they say in the 12-step programs, it was the moment I hit my rock bottom, where I was so distraught, so depressed, so low, so dark, so empty, so all of those things, that I just walked into a walk-in closet at my mom's house. I laid on the floor, balled myself up into a fetal position, and I stayed there for 3 straight days. I really was hoping I would just vanish. But somewhere in that darkness, Just like that night when I had the dream of apology accepted and I heard that choir of voices say to me, "This is yours, Loren, if you want it." I heard something say to me, "I know you don't want to get up, but you need to get up anyway. I know that you just can't find it within yourself to believe any longer, but I need you to believe anyway." I had trained myself to not be able to cry, to suppress, to bury, to hide. And I heard that choir of voices say to me, "I know you don't want to grieve, but I need you to grieve anyway." And so I did. And I pulled myself up. And I always tell my audiences, I tell my coachees, I tell anyone who will listen, it felt to me at that moment like an old episode in a Western movie, a scene within a Western movie where the men are fighting in the saloon. And there's always that one that just keeps getting smacked down. And as soon as you think he's down for good, you see that one hand come up over the side of the table. And then you see the other hand come up over the side of the table. And then you see them slowly pull themselves up. And that's exactly what I did that day. I did not want to come out of that closet, but I came out anyway. And I didn't walk into a world that mystically turned from black and white into color like on The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy opens that door. I walked into more.
Wow.
I walked into more of what took me in there. But what was different was I had turned the volume down of the negative, of the dark, of all those things that didn't belong to me in the first place. And I turned the volume up to that voice that told me, "Come out anyway." It was that day that something showed me, "Loren, you're going about this entirely wrong. You keep thinking that you need to recreate who you are, which means you can't be authentic. You have 7, 8 versions of yourself." That was when it dawned on me that I'd been having a recurring dream. In this dream, I was always in the grocery line, paying for my groceries. And every time I turned my head to the front end of the conveyor belt, there was another person from my life standing there. Someone from church, someone from where I had done drugs the night before, someone that had gone shoplifting with me to get those drugs, someone who had abused me, someone. All these different versions, all these people that my biggest fear was they can never all come together in the same place, because if they compare stories, I'm finished. Because I would leave this side out to get this person to like me. I wouldn't tell this person this part because I didn't want them to hate me. And there was nothing authentic about me except for my pain. And that's a horrible thing to be left with, and only left with. So I said, "Well, what do I do?" And here's what you have to do. The moment I began making it simple, serving it up to the people around me, the same way what you believe to be greater than you served it up to you, raw and uncut. What we fail to realize, and it will help keep us in a depressed state if we don't realize it, is that we have already lived the hard part. It was a matter of me beginning to cut and paste the life that I had already lived, because I had already lived a lot of the hard part. I didn't know that I was an authority. I did not know that I had credibility. I did not know that Loren was an expert in how to get through. because I had filled my world with people that believed in words that deceive, that didn't see that I had come through something because they didn't even know what that meant. They were people who subscribed to the mindset of, oh, get over it. You'll find a way around it. Sooner or later, you'll come from underneath this. But never did you ever hear them say, do whatever it takes to get through this. Go through this. It wasn't until I started cutting and pasting, seeing that how many times did I say, I'll never make it through this. Things will never change in my life. But wait a minute, how can that be true if I'm here? Instead of looking for 100 examples or validation points of something right, all I needed to do was expose one lie. But wait a minute. You're the voice that told me if I didn't kill myself then, it would never get better. But I'm here. And it did get better. So that's why it was important to me to find that knob again, to turn down that voice. Sometimes that voice came from within me. Sometimes it came to me through others. Sometimes it came by the places I took myself to, the people I hung around with, the content that I devoured, the dreams that I no longer had the courage to dream, the people that were sitting in the front row seats of my life. I had to start somewhere, and I started with eradicating words that deceive. I began by not buying into the hype. I stopped saying things like, when something happened right in my world, I stopped saying, oh, sure was weird how I found that $10 bill right when I needed it because I had no gas money. Wow, wasn't that strange how she just showed up out of nowhere? Nowhere. Man, I can't believe how lucky I was. Wow, this meal is good as hell. All words that deceive. They all speak to coincidence, happenstance, which takes away me ever being able to see that I am chosen, that I am worthy, that everything that I have gone through has a number, has a place, has a purpose. It is a part of my story, even if it's a canceled check, because the past has already been cashed. The future, post-dated. Can't cash it until I get there. But today, that's my cash. I need to spend it wisely. It's a gift. That's why it's called the present. So I began to concentrate on the process, not so much the goal, because I don't have control over who's going to do what, who's going to hire me, how much I'm going to get paid, who's going to like me. I have, am I going to find the perfect soulmate? Wasting time looking for the perfect soulmate when all along I should have been trying to become the perfect soulmate. In my process, I try to make myself a better version of myself so that I am ready and worthy. That's what makes me worthy, not what someone else says, not what someone else thinks. What makes me worthy is me putting my skin in the game, getting up every day and getting 1 grain of sand of self-improvement and putting it on the scale where it belongs. Because a whole lot of nothing is worse than a little bit of something. So even if I put 1 grain on there, it has the opportunity, the chance to do something eventually if I keep adding to it. So in order to cut and paste and look at the life that we've already lived, it's just like if you're driving in a car. The biggest window in the car is the one in front of you. Yes, keep looking towards the future, looking to where you're going. But there's a reason we have a rearview mirror, so that we can glance in it and see what's behind us. It's not meant, I don't drive forward staring out the back window. I won't get very far, not safely anyway. But I still have to glance back there to remind me of the landmarks, of the fact that I've already lived the hard part. And it takes a huge, unique type of courage. You have to summon a courage that many do not possess in order to look over your shoulder to the life you've already lived, cut and paste it, and put it in front of you. Put it out there. Be transparent. Be forthgiving. And share every single step of your journey with those around you. All of a sudden, the things that I thought and I was afraid that people will hold against me, that it would stop me from opportunity and all the things that I seek in this world, in this journey. Suddenly, those same things, because now I'm an authority, they start giving me things I previously barely could dream about. I live a life today that once upon a time I could have never imagined would be mine. You know, when I was a kid in the foster system, they referred to me as special needs because we moved so often that we were traditionally behind. But you know what I know today? We're all special. And we all have needs. So we're all special needs. You know, I still go to counseling on a bi-weekly basis. Why? Not because I'm damaged. Damaged, when people call us damaged, that's not right. That's not even accurate. Damaged is the tin of cans, the basket of cans at the back or the front of the grocery store that are reduced in price for easy sale because they're damaged. They can't be fixed. I was merely wounded, and wounds can heal. Love and truth. Love is the most powerful force on the planet. And truth, the only thing in the universe that never changes. I learned by conquering this fear that I had of exposing myself, of facing things that I didn't even have control over. You know, when I conquered that fear, it opened up a whole new world for me. It immediately allowed me the privilege of understanding that everything wonderful in my world comes through me. It doesn't come from me. I don't have to sit down and think it up. I didn't think up Apology Accepted. I didn't sit down last year and think up that I was going to have 127 paid speaking gigs my first year as a speaker. I didn't think up that I was going to have a digital training program to help other people replicate what I've already done. I didn't think up 2 best-selling books. I didn't. I will not take the credit. But I will take the credit for getting up every day and believing that it was my universal obligation to create a better version of me than there was yesterday in this world. And that means a lot of things. That means that I had to quit being angry. Every time I found myself ready to try to kill myself, it was the force that threw me into that ring, that battle ring, was based in anger. My fists were literally balled up, and it was in one of those suicide attempts. I remember slamming my bathroom door, and on the back of that door was a wardrobe mirror, and I saw myself ready to hit that mirror with my fist, and I saw something, and I started pointing at myself. You make me sick. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. You can't even kill yourself right. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And then it dawned on me. I wasn't just angry, but I was blameful. When I point that finger, of course, there's 3 pointing back at me, but you know what that means? I'm 75% away from a fist by pointing. So now I'm not just angry, but I'm angry and I'm looking every place but where I should be looking, and that's in the mirror. That's why I wanted to break the mirror. That was its way of talking me into taking my own life. And so I had to learn to not only get over the anger, but then to reinvent blame. And I blame a broken system called the foster system today. Yeah, why? But what do I blame them for? I blame them for giving me a voice for change today, where I can help foster kids of today and the ones that are on their way into it in the future. I blame every one of my abusers because, yeah, I didn't have any successful relationships. I only had one and I got married a month ago. This is my second relationship in 55 years. But you know what it did for me? I blame those abusers because they forced me to wait for my soulmate. I could have kept thinking that I wasn't worthy of love and I was not worthy of loving anyone else, but I changed that by reinventing my blame. And I blame those abusers for giving me the insight to wait and just be patient. It will come. Work on you. Be the perfect soulmate. And your soulmate will know you. They will recognize you the moment they meet you. And then, you know, now, because there's no fist, there's no pointing, which is 75% of a way to a fist, my palms are open. I can now let things come through me. You can't let things come through you if you're balled up. It's like that story everyone's heard about the monkeys who will go in and put their hand inside the container, and the hunters will come. And if they wanted to get away, all they have to do is let go and release those nuts and pull their hand out and keep on living another day. But they refuse to let go. I believe that there is an example in everything around us, from the ripples in water to the way that animals survive in nature. Everything we see happening around us in this world is a clue. You know, all of our senses need to be used. My problem was I allowed what was in front of my eyes to trick me, to whisper thoughts of death, destruction, pain, and sorrow. So I had to force myself to find another way, to find my way through this world. So I had to rely on those senses that had nothing to do with sight. I always refer to it in my coaching as the Helen Keller method. You know, kind of my hands out in front of me. Because now I have to rely on my instincts, what I feel. What do I smell in the air? I smell joy. I smell success. I smell the scent of a dream. All these things come together in a purposeful way once you begin concentrating on your progress, your purpose, your passion. It will all come out of the other end of the tunnel as progress. That's how it works. That's how it worked for me, and that's how I've seen it work with people that I work with. And it's a very exciting time in our lives right now, because I believe that anyone who wants healing has to be willing to share that healing. And if you're willing to share that healing with others that don't know what you didn't know, then you can be highly anointed. You can be lifted up, and you can see dreams you never expected to ever be possible develop, come to fruition right before your very own eyes. I know because I live it, and I see others around me living it. And so I say to everyone that's within the hearing of my voice that to be encouraged. The fact that you're even hearing this, that we're here together, you're not watching my story. You're not listening. You don't stargaze. Don't say, oh, I wish that could be like what Loren has. I wish that could be for me. Don't stargaze, because the fact that you're here proves that you're not watching my story. We're within my story, and I'm within your story. We're not above or below anyone. We should be beside each other, because that's when I can turn and say, how's it look in your direction? It's clear over here. Every time we put our best foot forward, we move everything that we've lived as well as everything that we dream. It all moves with us. You have to start when you get out of the way and you get the messenger out of the way of the message. You know that ladder, we're all conditioned to believe that we climb that ladder to success. It goes up and down, which means that there's someone on your tail and there's always someone you're chasing. I think that's the mindset for people who are meant to build other dreams, other people's dreams, you know. But for those of us, and those of us who fight this thing with depression, and we're chosen, it's got to be a little bit harder for us because our purpose is a little bit greater, a little bit bigger. But when you make it through and you turn that ladder from being vertical to horizontal, now your feet are on the ground. That's when you can see everything to the left of the number line, everything you've lived. You can see everything to the right of the number line, everything you dream, and all the things that you're putting in place. You can see how they will all eventually make sense. All question marks become answers. All fear now becomes elements of miracles and faith. Mistakes are merely victories in the making. Your mindset will change. And when your mindset changes, the rest of your world has no choice but to follow right behind it. So keep your feet on the ground. Keep your hands still on the rungs of your ladder. But remember, every time you move your best foot forward, which is the one you most recently moved, if you just moved your right foot forward, it's now your best foot. When you move the other one forward, it just became your best foot. But the greatest part of all is everything will move with you. No one else will control it. And when other people don't control and we get that, their opinions don't mean crap. Seriously. You know? And remember this. The best part of all, the thing I love the most about where I live today, the world that is mine today, is that I get it. Opportunities, blessings, challenges, trials, tribulations, pain, none of those things come in pints, quarts, or gallons. I cannot look at any of them as one being any more or less important than the next. And how do I accomplish that? I accomplish that by getting up again every day and just doing what I do, giving it what I can. Some days I don't have 100%. I only have 12%. But if that's all I have, then I have to use that 12%. If you are consistently working on your process with where you're at that day, I guarantee you, what we all believe to be greater than us doesn't need to see you change the world overnight to know. Because what we do in small things shows the universe exactly what we're capable of in all things. Don't be lukewarm. Don't be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Christmas Eve, and every other holiday. Be 365, 24/7. And if you can't be, then wait until you can. Because that hopping back and forth, everything from Aesop's Fables to Confucius Says to the Farmer's Almanac, they all have something, even the Bible. Don't be lukewarm, be hot or cold. If it's the Farmer's Almanac, don't put one foot on both sides of the fence, you're going to piss down the middle. We have so many clues out there to not go back and forth. Don't be up. You want life to be up and down. It's going to be. If your life is considered like if you're in an ICU, right, and you're looking at the heart monitor, what do you really want up there? Do you want smooth sailing, flat line? Hello, that's sign of lack of life. There is no life. What do they look for when they put those paddles on a heart? They look for up, down, up, down, up, down. Because that's life. That's when you're alive. So when you feel like you're at the peak, you're at the valley, just remember, you have to have that view. Or how can you tell the world what it looked like looking up? The same way when you're at the top, at the peak, at the summit, and you've planted your flag, you can relish and you can take in a deep breath and say, I remember when I was down there where I'm looking upon. It's keeping it all relative. The view from the bottom is just as important as the view from the top. So keep climbing. Keep getting up anyway. Keep moving forward anyway. Back to you in the studio, Logan.
Hey guys, I gotta interrupt this real quick to do a call to action, as they call it in the podcasting world. I've got this call to action about, have you ever had a story that you felt like you needed to share? A story that you need to get off your chest? And you have this imposter syndrome in which you think that it's not good enough to share. But let's be honest, any trauma that you've ever gone through needs to be shared. You deserve for your voice to be heard. So if you ever want your voice to be heard, please let me know. I'd love to help you with a podcast. Maybe writing books just isn't your thing, but a podcast, you're a talker. You know how to talk. Well, back to my interview. Yeah, well, you just gave us an entire 45 minutes of world-changing insight. Really, really, really impressed. Thank you for that, for the story and the analogies and the metaphors. And the one thing I want to point out is the immense amount of belief that one has to have inside themselves when they're on the ground, when I found myself on the ground, when you found yourself on the ground, when I'm talking to just you, that person that's listening right now that's on the ground, that has no more hope. And the hard thing I think that a lot of us question, though, is what do you say to that person that had that trauma that used to drive them, and now you got to take that away from them to become who they truly want to be one day?
Are you asking me? Oh, see, you
Yeah.
had me. I would tell you. See, you did to me what you said I did to you. You took me off on a whole nother tangent. Logan, you're going to have to repeat that because I was just like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
No, it's fine. What do you say to that person that has that trauma that used to drive them and now they kind of got to let go of that? Like you were saying, the theme is
It is.
let go and share. And just, how do you take that trauma away? Like honestly, dude, my obsession is working out. My trauma makes me who I am. But now that I got to take that away and let go and just,
Well,
I guess, become who I'm
well,
meant to
yeah,
be.
because here's the thing, Logan, and everyone listening. The life we've already lived will never, even the things that we wish we could close our eyes and force them away and never to return. That's not realistic. So it's going to always be there. So if it's going to always be there, it must be for a reason, and it means that someone else is on their way to that very room that you were in with your trauma. They're going into that same forest that you've already traversed, that same room that you felt your way through the darkness out of. You can't go in there and walk it for them, but you can say this. Listen, on the other side of that room is a switch. It's over to the left. When you round this corner, watch your left ankle because there's a sharp thing down there and you don't want to bump that. Oh, and after that, there's going to be this heely part. Be prepared for it. Slow down. But once you get over to that switch, it won't seem to be turning on if you go click, 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 up, down. It's because you're supposed to put it in the middle and then push it. Took me a long time to figure that out. That's why those rooms have to stay there. That's why those dark forests have to stay there. So that you can remember the maze that you made it out of. That's your solution. And that's what they come to us with their hands open, seeking. That's what it's all about. That's why it happened. That's why it must be. Finding purpose in everything that's happened. When you cut and paste your life, you start to see you can back away from it. If you don't cut and paste it, it's like being in front of a giant piece of art and you're too close to see it. You have to step back and go, oh, okay, now I see what that is. That's a tree. That's a body of water. Oh, and there's a person. When up close, it was just a bunch of brush strokes that didn't make any sense. And remember this. This is what I want to leave you guys with. The reason we can't base everything on what people say or think about us, because I'm going to tell you what my birth mom told me on her deathbed. If something doesn't make sense to you, it's because it has nothing to do with you. Those of us who have mental health issues, a lot of those things are direct response to being confused, because you get things from so many different places. Half the time, it's not us. It's someone else. It's their stuff. We feel like okay, so what if you have baggage? If you're on a journey that's worthwhile, don't you think you need some baggage? Who goes across the world, boards a flight with just a carry-on? Just make sure that the baggage you take with you is a matching set and it has your initials on it. Because if you get to wherever it is you're going in life and you want to leave that airport and you don't have a claim ticket that has your name on it that matches every bag, they're not going to let you out of the airport anyway. Not with those bags anyway. And most of us want to stay there like the monkey with his hand in the thing and not go anywhere. So just remember these things. Everything has a number. It all has a place. Do that. Get out of the way. Be the messenger. But don't get in the way of the message. And allow everything to come through you. Don't sit down and beat yourself up trying to make it come through you. From you. It won't. That's like writer's block. I got to come up with something. Just sit back and let the process take place. It always works out better in the long run.
Yeah, process is it's so important. I have to point that out. Is process. And you talked a little bit about passion, and my objection, I guess my definition of passion changes all the time, because I really do believe that passion is something that's kind of it's so euphoric, and it's a floating symbol that people want to, I gotta feel my passion, and then I'll go on with my true purpose. And I think that passion actually comes from just doing things for long enough to where you give it a chance, and you go through even the times that it's hard and the dips and the problems. And I'm sure even when you were doing your stage work, there were probably times, were there not? Maybe you can answer that right now, where you got off the stage where you thought like you did a bogus job.
Oh yeah. Yep. And that happened like at the beginning. But then you know what happened immediately? While I'm about to just like go swimming in that pond, that pool that I jumped in of pity, that's really, again, because the only way I can feel that is if I think it's me. I did. When we remove I from almost any, push me, pull me, seesaw equation where you're going back and forth, take you out, and then the whole thing changes. Because the minute I stop worrying about, did I do a good job? Oh, I screwed that up. Oh, I wasn't as good as it. Here comes somebody from the audience pulling me to the side, asking if they can speak to me privately. And then they pour their heart out about how I was meant to be here today. I am going through exactly what you just talked about. And I really am so glad that I was here today, because I didn't think I was going to make it to the end of the week. A moment like that happens. And then you feel really stupid about worrying about what you did or didn't do. Again, it's coming through you. It's not coming from, it has nothing to do with me. I don't care if there's 3 people in an audience. Who am I to say that in those 3 people is not one person that is going to hear one phrase that contains one line that could change or save their life forever? So who am I to say, what kind of audience is this? This doesn't know anybody. I don't even want to go out there. There's only 3 people. Really? Yeah, you don't want to go out there, but your message does. Get out of the way of your own
Wow.
destiny.
Yeah. No, that's so true. It's getting out of our way where I think we have that habit though to I bring up habit all the time on this show because we do have that tendency to just get in our own way and we become our worst enemies. So what is that thing that you did when you found yourself becoming your worst enemy? Did you surround yourself with different people? Did you just start doing things that were really scary? What was that one little thing
That
that you
mind shift,
started to
that turning
do?
point began when I stopped letting words that deceive come out of my mouth. Because if I was tricking myself into, watering down the good things about myself, if I was tricking myself into believing nothing good was going to happen to me, it originated with my own mindset. The things I would say about, you know, chalking everything good that happened up to coincidence. That's why it was easy for me to start looking for the other shoe to drop. Oh, it's too good to be true. If it looks too good, then it probably is. All that crap we're taught, you know. And then that's how I got into self-sabotage because I was so sure that nothing good was really good. So once I stopped believing in words that deceive and they stopped coming from my mouth at rapid fire rate, then I was able to start identifying them when they were coming from people that did not have my best interest at heart. I was like, well, hold on, wait a minute. And I'd stop it before I took it in. I stopped putting everything automatically on my hard drive. I started putting things on a thumb drive until I could say, I know this to be true, which means it will never change. But I had to start by not letting it come out of me. I couldn't put things out that shouldn't have been coming from me. Once I stopped it from my direction, I was able to stop it from the other direction. Law of attraction. Once I stopped attracting the wrong things, I started attracting the right things. People think there's so many choices. If you see something in your life and it's not producing what it should be producing, then look for the exact opposite. There are only two things, two choices, the truth and fiction, right and wrong. That's it. If we follow our first mind, it's usually a pretty good way to go if you're healthy. Because our first mind is connected to whatever is greater than us. It's when we go, anything after that is second. I don't care if there's 1,000 of them. It's still second to the first one. And then what do they call that? Second guessing. And then when you think it's high, it's coming in low. When you jog to the right, it's going to jog to the left. So that's why I say, treat them all the same. No more pints, quarts, and gallons. Get up and just be the best you. Just do one thing. Quit spinning plates. Like on the sideshow guy, spinning plates from pole to pole. Your back is to the audience, and if one of those plates comes down off the pole and crashes on the stage, your act is over. Find a new act. Turn around. Face your audience. Look at who's sitting in the front row seat of your audience. Make sure they belong there. Check their tickets. Half the time, they're not even supposed to be there. They're people from the nosebleed section or from the wrong show altogether. Make sure that you have healthy people.
Yeah.
That way you can listen to them and they will listen to you. We help each other. No one's above or below anyone else. Surround yourself with like-minded. Everything will begin to change. Everything, Logan.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you so much right there. I don't want to get into a debate with that. No, not at all. I love, you know what? I'm really trying to honor this lately is focus on one course until success. I really butchered that, right? But that's the thing is like being able to really just take that one thing and focus on it. What do you tell that person that has that clear vision of what they want to be, and then all of a sudden they lose it?
Well, first of all, Logan,
And
right there, they didn't all of a sudden anything. They
okay,
lost it on the installment plan because that's why you can't be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every other holiday. It tricks you into believing it was all of a sudden. No, You bought that on the installment plan. Get up every day. Because when you get up every day and you add to your process, you know what that is? That's like putting duct tape around the PVC pipes of your spiritual world. So if a leak does spring, you're not running around putting buckets underneath everything. You don't wait until a leak has sprung. It's called preventative measures. So you get up every day and you find something in your world that you can duct tape. Find whatever you need to find, whatever way you need to picture it, see it in order to do it. God gives me things and I believe in God, so that's my thing, but everybody has their own. But whatever it is however you believe you're making your way through this journey, you got to understand. It's going to give it to you in ways that you can get it. I see it in pictures, and that's how I share it, in pictures. You see? So when I say something about duct tape or whatever, it's because I need to see a way to get up and be actionable. And so in my mind, I get up and I reach for my duct tape, and I look for exposed pipes. You know why? Because I'm never done. But some people would say, well, aren't you eventually going to run out of pipes? No, because every day they're here. Somewhere in my world, there's a construction crew putting on an addition to my world. Building the west wing, building the east wing. You better believe it. That's what they're doing. I believe that everything that happens in my life today is a mansion. I get up and I allow my purpose, my passion, and my process to build mansion after mansion after mansion. I no longer feel good living in a pup tent, a shanty, a one-bedroom flat, whatever it is. It's okay to want more, to want better. And here's the thing. This is important. I'm glad I didn't forget this. You know how we always ask for things? You see whatever you believe to be greater than you, and you say, hey, just man, I want to do this. I want to be this. This is what I want. Asking for it is half the equation. But you also have to be willing to show what you're going to do with it once you get it. And stick to that. Okay?
Yeah, that's so true. The tools that we have, I think we have so many resources that it becomes really easy to, like you said earlier, to become confused and to just you got to kind of distinguish who you should listen to and who you shouldn't listen to. And right now, if you're listening to this and you find yourself going, oh gosh, I'm confused because there's so many contradictory messages I'm getting, then stop all the noise and let go of it and go back to find your answers through your past. What used to make sense that also made sense today. I think that's just my personal take on it is being able to do that is a skill, and it's really hard to follow your intuition, and it's we think we have to have more certifications and more this and putting in more of these things on when it's nothing but just actually taking away things. It's actually becoming less instead of all this more stuff. To use the tools that you have already at your disposal is really hard for people to swallow because, of course, you want more answers. You want to do this thing until you have 100% certainty. And then, then after that certainty, then you'll move forward. But it takes the person that isn't certain at all to move forward. And I'm being very euphoric, and I hear myself saying that, and I'm being very abstract, and I get that. But that's kind of on purpose, right? You like in your speech, a little bit of it was abstract because then you as the audience member can come together and have a conversation instead of you just being spoken at, but have a conversation where you make up things that are abstract to you and you put your imagination on those things, or you put your life and symbol on the true areas where you want to grow. So you water the grass that you feel needs to be
Absolutely.
greener. I mean, dude, this has been an incredible, I guess I wouldn't even know if I'd call it a conversation, but I've been listening, not really talking. And so I just want to say thank you so much, Loren, for coming on Scratch Your Own Itch, man. I wish we could talk longer, and I want to, but I also got to just keep these shows
Right.
a little bit shorter. Otherwise, people see an hour and 45 minutes and they go, I don't know if I want to get into
Right.
that.
Right.
And I
Right.
understand that. Some people are ADHD, and I
Me
got
too.
ADHD too, and but
Right.
who doesn't, right? I mean, we all do. So hey, I'd love to maybe invite you back on, and we can do a special round where we just do some questions that are on our mind, and we could just have a
Absolutely.
conversation around that. But with that, thank you so
Oh,
much, Loren, for
listen,
coming
and
on
I
Scratcher.
thank you, Logan, and I thank everyone that supports you, because if they didn't support you, you wouldn't be here, which means I wouldn't be here. And together we can do really big things in this world. Alone, not so much. So I'm honored anytime, any place. And you all out there, you keep supporting this guy because he's something special. I promise you that. But then you probably already know this.
That means the world to me.
Sure.
Thank you for saying that. Wow. Guys, if you're hearing deja vu and you're hearing thank yous, that's because when you hear those constant thank yous in life, that's a key to your intuition. Follow those. So yeah. All right, I'll let you go, Loren. Thank you again. All right, there you have it. Another episode of Scratch Your Own Itch in the can with Loren, Michaels, Harris, and I. Yeah, that was a whopper. Wow. Yeah, I get it. A lot of just everything going on. And I know your head's probably spinning right now, and you're probably going, I don't know what to take away from that and how to digest all that. And all you have to do is realize that you already wrote your story. You already wrote it. It's already there. All you have to do is share it. Please know that. And I'm telling you right now, take action and set up 5 minutes today to just record some stuff in your phone, what you're thinking about. Don't edit it. Don't think that this is good or bad. Just know that it's right. Know that you took some time out of your day to make yourself way better. And don't ever forget, please, that I'm here for you. And if you want to reach out to me, just reach out to me. I'd love to read any of your reviews. And if you don't know how to do a review, it's really simple, stupid simple. All you do is go down onto your iTunes or Android device or any device that you're listening to, and there's a section in which you can plug in your review. It doesn't take much time. And if you really like this show, you can subscribe to it and get updates on it every time a new episode releases. I release 3 times a week. But with all that being said, you matter and you are enough.